The game duration is 87 minutes, 10 minutes half, so basically 77 minutes playing time. And this is the interesting thing, 37 minutes rest. So it's 40 minutes game, 2 half of 20, and 37 minutes rest. So basically the interesting thing is the work rest ratio is 1-1. 40 minutes more or less playing time, 37 minutes rest. And here at the bottom, we can see that the playing and the resting intervals. The 75% of the times that the ball is in play, that playing time is between 1 to 18 seconds. And when the ball goes out, until we play again, the 83% of the time is between 1 to 15 seconds. That is clear, no? So basically we play for 1 to 18 seconds and then we rest between 1 to 15 seconds. So again, the ratio work rest is 1-1. The average basically is 15 seconds action. So 15 seconds playing time, 15 seconds rest time. After 15 seconds, the ball goes out. Within 15 seconds, we restart the game again. And in one game, there is almost the same number of playing actions, 160, and moments that player are resting, so 160. In 1 minute, usually there is 4 times that the ball goes out, or there is a foul, or the game stops. So in 1 minute, the average is 4 minutes, 4 times stop. The players in futsal, they cover, of course, no goalkeepers. They cover 4.5 kilometers average. But the interesting thing is that the 50% of that distance is at high intensity. Here you can see that the average heart rate is quite high, like 174, and usually the players, when they are on the court and they are playing at 90% or above of their heart rate maximum. The intermittent workout that the players in futsal they do is 15 seconds resting, 15-second playing average. This is quite interesting. And here we can see in this graph that the 83% of the time that the player is on the court, their heart rate maximum is over 85%. So basically, we know that when players are playing futsal at top level, their demands, their intensity is extremely high. That is why usually after 3 minutes, 4 minutes, they come out. In general, futsal players, they need a good aerobic endurance. In my opinion, they need an amazing, great recovery capacity to recover between games, but to recover between efforts within the same game. They need strength, power, speed, and agility, change of direction. But power, speed, and agility, everything is under strength. So futsal is becoming a sport where strength is taking over. The games are very, very intense. The players are stronger. The players and the teams, they are pressing higher. They are pressing quicker. They are pressing with more force. So the game is becoming more physical. So we need players that are strong and players they have a very, very good recovery capacity. You want a very good review. This paper is a good review of futsal literature that they talk about everything that I cover physically in futsal. Okay, so this is like for your reference. Most of the on the presentation, all the pictures and everything they are hyperlink, guys. So probably if you click there, you will go directly to the paper. So if you don't have any question, this is section 1 about the futsal characteristics. We know what a futsal player needs at the top level and in adult life. So then how we work up to that. So that is when I want to share the methodology. So you know that I'm here working with Andreu Plaza. Andreu Plaza was the head coach for Barcelona until he joined Saudi Arabia. He was 5 years in the first team, but the previous 5 he was working the B team and in the academy. And I met him so many years ago, more than 10, 11 years ago, when he was the director of the academy and the B team. So they developed in the Barca academy one methodology that I had access, and I educated myself because we work in different events together. So I had a big influence between Andreu and Ismael. Ismael Kamenforte now is the fitness coach for Bayer Leverkusen. And they developed this methodology that I'm going to share with you. Basically, when we are working with futsal and we work in endurance, we have like 6 types of endurance, okay? Endurance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you have the names next to them, okay? So endurance number 1 is warm-up games and recovery workouts, for example. And endurance number 6 is the endurance that you need to compete, and then so on, okay? For strength, you can see at the bottom in yellow, we have 4 different types of strength, or we divide 4 different types of strengths. Preventive workout is a strength 0, and then a specific explosive strength is strength number 3, explosive strength 2, and endurance strength or intermittent strength 1, okay? Then we have speed, 2 types of speed, reaction and gestural speed, and acceleration and displacement speed. And then we have coordinative skills, proprioception, and passive and active stretching. So basically, this is what we want to cover, these 5 here and the 6 endurances and the 4 strengths. So in total, we have like 15 different types of trainings that we want to cover when we are coaching. And in the next 8, 9 slides, I'm going to explain every single one. You have this for your reference, so we are not going to spend a lot of time going through each one in detail. So for example, if I go here, we have endurance 1 and endurance 2, okay? Endurance 1, warm-up games and recovery workouts. And we have the objective of this workout, so quick recovery after a game, or adapt the body for intense efforts. The conditions for this workout, like low intensity, should be a continuous workout between 10 to 25 minutes. And if we do an interval, we should do sets longer than 5 minutes. The characteristics, so should be a low intensity, games with big spaces, with high number of players, and trying to avoid explosive efforts. And one example, for example, is warm-up games in 40 by 20 or low intensity rondos, like 10 versus 3, 8 versus 2, set pieces, football, tennis. Okay, so this is endurance 1. As you can see, you have endurance 2, and it's the same. You have the objective, the conditions, the characteristics, and examples. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go in detail like every single one because we will waste a lot of time, but you have that for your reference, you can review it, and then if you have any question, feel free to contact me. But then in the next slide, we have the endurance 3, which is a bit more high. The intensity gets a bit higher to work the aerobic power. Then we have endurance 4. This is a bit more intense. As you can see, for example, here, the repetitions, they are between 30 seconds to 90 seconds. The recovery should be bigger than the working time. So if we work for 30 seconds, the recovery should be longer than 30 seconds, okay? The total number of repetitions, and here we have some examples, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2 in match situations. Ian, so far good? Like you can see the presentation?
Yeah, it's working now when you click on the individual slides.
Okay,
there's no questions in the chat box, and guys and girls, please feel free to put them in. I've got a question. There was nothing I couldn't see around agility. Where does that fit?
We put the agility into the coordination skills, or sometimes in speed. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense.
Because when we work with agility, we want to do everything at maximum intensity and maximum speed.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, so endurance 4, endurance 5. In endurance 5, as you can see, the intensity should be now 100%. Endurance 6, that basically is a match situation. So this is a match situation. And then we go with strength. We have strengths, what we call strength 0 is basically proprioception routines or core stability or elastic bands workout, basically preventive or compensatory strength. Then we have strength 1, that we have different circuits. We have sometimes circuits combined with technical actions, and we have again the conditions here between 15 seconds to 40 seconds. The recovery time should be equal or bigger than the working time. Usually we work in intervals method, like 15 seconds workout, 15 seconds rest, 20 seconds, 20 seconds, 20, 30, between 5 to 8 minutes per set, 2 to 5 sets. Then we can go to strength number 2, which is explosive, and strength number 3, which is more specific. And for example, we do finishing drills here, or like very specific movements oriented to the goal. So for example, we put a pivot, we pass the ball into the pivot, and then lay the ball off to shoot. So everything oriented to the goal at maximal speed. Maybe we put a couple of headers and they have to jump over the header before. Okay, this kind of workouts. We have here the repetitions and the number of sets. The same, we go with speed 1 and speed 2. Exactly the same methodology. We have the objective, the conditions, the characteristics, and different examples. For example, to work on reaction speed, we like to do one-touch games, because the players, they have to react very, very quick. They have to think quick. They have to be ready before they receive the ball. And to work on acceleration and displacement, usually we do like quick attacks versus the goalkeeper, or transition actions. Okay, and then we go with the last 3, which is everything like related to coordination. Should be always with a high and maximum intensity. Usually we don't do more than 15 efforts of the same one, and we try to do like general dynamic coordination, but at the same time coordination with one leg, with the other leg, with one hand, with the other hand. Proprioception, and like keeping the balance, using unstable surfaces, working a lot on the landing, jumping and then landing, using functional material for the balance, basically everything to prevent potential joint injuries, and at the same time to train our body to have a better proprioceptive response. And then, in my opinion, very important, we have passive and active stretching. Sometimes we work passively, sometimes we work actively. We include here the foam rolling protocols. Okay, we always work with foam rollers, sometimes at the beginning of the session, sometimes at the end of the session, but we give a lot of importance to the recovery and regeneration aspects of the training. Okay, this is about methodology. Now, what I want to show you is how we organize this type of training for the different ages, and this is probably what for you is the most interesting and more important, because that most likely you will be working with this type of and kind of players, like under 11, under 12, under 15, under 16s. So if you don't have any questions about this methodology, I will go to under 11s. Here, this is what in our methodology we think that under 11s should be working on. As you can see, this the physical aspect are at the bottom. So we should focus on this, because this seminar is about physical conditions, but we have attack, defense, technique, transitions, and physical aspects. So with under 11s, this is what we think that we should focus on our training sessions. So the dualities, the game of two, the 1v1s and the 2v1s in the attack, defense, the defense of the 1v1 and the defensive cover in defense, technically oriented controls like receiving the ball after feinting, passes on the air, and the basic defensive stance. In transitions, 2 versus the goalkeepers, 2 versus 1, and 3 versus 1. And then physically, at that age, we should cover endurance 1, endurance 2, endurance 3. So you should go back to the other slides if you really want to have all the details about endurance 1, endurance 2, and endurance 3. Remember, for example, endurance 1 was the warm-ups and the recovery endurance. Strength 0, which is the preventive strength. Speed, coordination, stretching, and proprioception. You will see these 3 aspects in all the ages. For us, it's very, very important to work on coordination, to create good habits about stretching and foam rolling, and all the proprioceptive workout. If we go to under 13s, if you see on the physical, we include now endurance 6, which basically is the endurance dedicated to competitions. So we focus a bit more on the competitions, and we include strength 1 and strength 3. All the others, we keep them. But again, coordination, stretching, and proprioceptions, they are here. At the same time, you can see what, in our opinion, we should be focused on attack, defense, technique, and transitions. If we go to under 15s, in the other under 15s, regarding endurance, we include endurance 4 and endurance 5, which basically it was the high intensity workout with less recovery and longer times working, that in the previous age under 13s we didn't work. Strength we should be working on all types of strength, 0, 1, 2, and 3. The same with speed. And again, we keep coordination, we keep stretching, found rolling, and proprioception. And if we go over 16 years old, we keep everything like we keep in the other age. And now on the attack, defense, technique, and transitions, we start including more more demanding tactical aspects, like for example, like the domain of the depth and the width, the use of a more structured game or system of play. And then, for example, because the players they are stronger at that age, we start introducing long passes that in the previous ages, just because of the physical limitations that players have, we don't even talk about it. So, for example, when we are talking about under 11s or under 13s, we don't really pay attention to work on long passes because physically they are not able to do it. In plus 16 is when we start thinking about that. Do you have, guys, any questions about these basically last 4 slides, the under 11s, the under 13s, the under 15, and the under 16s?
Yeah, Dan, there's a few questions.
Okay.
Firstly, examples of coordinative games. So some of the examples that you would do, and particularly if there's some that find it really difficult. But what sort of stuff, when you're talking about the coordination games, what might they look like? What were those examples?
So we are talking about, for example, we play games that they have hands together. So for example, attack games with hands together, that is limiting your coordination. Or we have games that we play with one ball, but at the same time we have another ball in the hands, and they have to be passing the ball in the hands, but at the same time they play with a futsal ball on the floor to like a normal game. We use a lot of agility ladders, a lot of chain of directions. You will see in the video one example that the players they are sprinting, they have to change direction, and they have to sit down, and after sitting down they have to receive a ball and attack. But for example, we do with when I was in America working, I like to, for example, to work on the coordination skills, but at the same time on the defensive skills. You have to defend a 1v1 with your hands behind your back. Okay.
Yeah, some good ideas, Dan. Yeah, good examples.
This kind of things.
Yeah, and Daddy just said, like, is that similar to when in basketball you'll see them bouncing one hand a basketball and then in the other a tennis ball? Or
yes,
I've
exactly.
seen it where pairs passing a football or a futsal ball on the floor, but then, like you said, also throwing and catching at the same time. So yes, it's those things that really get the brain working.
Sometimes we do these kind of things, like very easy futsal passing in twos, but we have tennis balls that they are passing with right hand or left hand, or they are bouncing even a tennis ball at the same time they are passing.
And right hand to left hand, across the body, over the head, down below the knees, different heights, different angles. Yeah, very good. Exactly. Another question. How is this incorporated throughout the season in terms of periodization? And is that maybe what you're going to come on to? I know when you're going to talk about the national team stuff, but if they're in a club day to day, week to week, how would you periodize this?
Yes, it's completely different. So the first thing, in the next, as you mentioned, in the next slide, I'm going to show you how we work here in a whole year period. But it's completely different to be working with kids and adult, and also it's completely different to be working with a national team and in a club, because in the national team we are very limited in the time that we spend with the players. So it's completely different. So it's a very good question.
So maybe we'll come back to that right at the end. So once you've done the
Yes.
national team bit, you could then compare that to what it might be like in a club.
Exactly. So I was going to tell you exactly that.
Perfect. Okay? Because the other question is, would it be based on individual needs of players or tactical needs of the team? Like, do you do physical development because an individual needs to be better at it? Or do you do it based on the team's tactical needs?
At the end of the day, my belief is that you have to develop individuals, and especially at this young age. So, of course, we are playing in a team sport, but we try, or not now, when I was working previously in America, I try to individualize as much as possible, especially with kids. We do that even now with the national team, that some players, they need to do a specific workout on this and other players on the other thing. So with kids, it should be, in my opinion, the same.
Yeah, really good. And that probably links to a question about growth spurts. And how do you manage that? Again, probably your time in America, you might have had, you know, stereotypically it's 13, 14-year-olds that are going through.
Basically, that also links with the previous question that you told me. Everybody knows that there is some windows of opportunity when you are growing, that at that period you should be working on different aspects, and if you don't work on those aspects, then you are going to miss this window of opportunity. So that is how technically you should periodize the whole season in a club. So when you have the players that the window of opportunity is to work on speed, you should try to work on speed. Of course, it's very different because also we know that not all the players, their maturation status is at the same one. So that is the challenge that we have when we are coaching team sports.
So would you reduce some of the strength training or the endurance training if players are going through growth spurts, or not necessarily?
Yes, but you have to know which exercise you should do, and if maybe there is one player that have some pains, of course you have to adapt or modify that training session.
Yeah, okay.
Especially we have players. Well, everybody knows that they have the problems at the patella tendon, like at the front of the knee.
Yeah, Osgood-Schlatter's, yeah.
Exactly.
Osgood-Schlatter's on the knee is common, and severs in the heel is another common one.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. We may come back to some of that. I mean, I know my limited knowledge, and yeah, I might well be wrong. I know Jez is on the call, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard as well about rewiring. So when kids have been through a growth spurt and suddenly their legs are a lot longer, or their arms or whatever, that's another good time to do those coordination activities we were talking about, because you're trying to rewire those connections of where they need to, you know, their touch will be bad, they'll miskick the ball just because it's all different. So the more technical work we can do at that point is quite key.
Exactly.
Good questions. Okay, continue, Dan. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so now I will show you. Do you see this presentation, this slide?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
The whole year calendar?
Yeah, it's very small. I don't know if you could zoom in.
Now?
Yeah, keep going. If you can zoom more on the down in the bottom corner where it says plus 64%, if you could zoom that in.
But now, do you see now bigger or not?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, massive, yeah.
There?
Yeah, good.
Okay, so this is our season, right? This year, okay? So we started in August. Okay, there is a coaching course here. Do you see? In purple. So we did a coaching course, and then we travel to Holland. So basically the months are vertically, okay? And the days you have here for the days. So every single red day, so the red days are the FIFA windows. That is the FIFA days that FIFA put every year for tournaments. So when we organize the calendar, we try to fill the FIFA days with our national camps. So everything that you see in green is national training camps. Everything that you see in salmon color is like tournaments. Then, so if we start in August, we did a coaching course for the coaches in Saudi Arabia, and then we did a training camp in Holland. We played 2 friendly games in September, the 2nd and the 3rd of September in Holland. And then from there, we went to Brazil for a tournament. We played the tournament in Brazil, and we played 3 games back to back, 14 of September, 15 and 16, Brazil, Japan, Colombia. Then we come back to Saudi Arabia, and in yellow here, you see that we did a training camp for new players. The players from Brazil, they basically rest. Then we did another training camp, and we had in October, you will see here in Salmon, the 7th, the 9th, and the 11th of October, Afghanistan, Macau, and Indonesia. Those are the Asia Cup qualifiers. Originally, that was going to be in Indonesia, but then it was a problem with the federation. The Indonesia canceled, and at the end, we were the host. So the pre-qualifiers, they were here in Dammam, in a city in Saudi Arabia. So we play Afghanistan, Macau, and Indonesia. That was the main competition for us to qualify for the Asia Cup. We finished second, so we qualify, and then all the activity for the national team stopped, and you will see here in brown round 16. That means the cup, and then in blue you will see W1, W2, W3, W4. Those are the league. So week 1, week 2, like fixture 1, fixture 2 for the league. So after the round 16 of the cup, they started the league. So this coming Friday is, because the competition here is play on Fridays. This coming Friday is going to be week 6, if I am not, yes, week 6. Okay. Then you see here between the 27th of November and December, the Saudi Games. That means like a competition that started last year is like Olympic Games in Saudi Arabia. There are 45, I think, different sports. Futsal is included as a sport. So the clubs, they participate in a 2 weeks tournament. So the league stops. There's a tournament, a 2 week tournament. And after that, between the 10th to the 20th of December, we have another training camp in Macedonia. So we will travel to Macedonia because it's FIFA days for 2 friendly tournaments in Macedonia. Then during the Christmas period, we have the last 8, the semi-final and the final for the cup. And then in January, you can see we have more leagues. Then in February, we have another training camp, and we have the Asian Indoor Games in Thailand. And then this is very important for us. The 10th of March, in yellow, you will see that is Ramadan. Ramadan starts the 10th of March and finishes the 10th of April. And then we have the 3 days, 11, 12, and 13 of 8. This is important because we have the Asia Cup that we qualified last month, right at the end of April. So the training camp that we have in April is going to be with the last 4 or 5 days of Ramadan and the 3 days of 8. So that is a big challenge that we have for our preparation for our Asia Cup. In May, we have the final stage, which basically is like the playoffs of the league. And then in June, we have the Arab Cup. The Arab Cup could be moved from June to the first 10 days of February, that FIFA window that you have. But basically, this is our whole year calendar. And as you can see, the players, they play between August to June. So basically, they are playing 10 months and a half, 11 months. We have limited access to them because they are playing with their clubs and they are training with their clubs. So tactically and technically, the access that we have is limited, but physically is even less. Like I cannot really, when we do training camps, I don't really work anything specifically with them because they are coming from their clubs. They have their programs, they have their training sessions, unless that we have like a 1 month's preparation like we did in Holland or Brazil at the beginning of the season. During the training camps in the middle of the season, physically we don't really work in anything specifically. We do some activation sessions, we do a lot of recovery sessions, we do some reaction speed sessions, but we don't really have the time to spend working that. Once we have this like the whole year, I will show you, for example, how we plan August. So we go 1 month. So this is August. And as you can see here, they have 11 sessions, like session 1, session 2, session 3, until the 25th of August. Those 11 sessions, that was a training program that the players, they received, and the players, they were working on their own. And then on the 25th of August, we joined together to Holland, and then we have the training sessions. Like on the 26th, sleep, and then PM training session. 27, double session. In September, so here you can see that we have the sessions. So that way we have an idea of how many sessions we have, how many games. This is like the whole picture that we have. So we have the games against Holland the 2nd and the 3rd of September. Then we travel to Brazil on the 4th. We have Friday the 1st in the morning free, because players on Fridays, they go to the mosque to pray. So this is the whole picture of 1 month. After that, what we do is we plan the sessions by topics. And this is the next slide. So here in Amsterdam, we did the first, so the first column is the date, the second column is the place, the third column is the morning sessions, and the fourth column is the afternoon session. So on the 28th, we did a gym session in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we work on defensive pressure in 3v3 and 4v4 with waves situation. On the 29th, for example, we did a run at 8 o'clock in the morning before breakfast. Then we had breakfast. We went to the court at 11 and we did press breakers and 4-0 attack. And in the afternoon, we did a video session and then again press breakers and attack 4-0. So we do this so we have the topics daily. And after that is when we plan the sessions, like specifically. So for example, because this is about fitness, I will show you one session that we did in Brazil. So this is the session. The 11th of September in Sorocaba, we did a session where we had 4 players injured, Nasser, Fahad, Yaya, and Moaz. So we adapt some exercises for them. And then the rest of the group, we divided the group in 3 groups, group 1, group 2, group 3. Group 1, 20 minutes aerobic exercise. Group 2, some elastic bands, some core stability, and some foam rolling. And then group 3, some gym workout. And then the groups they rotate. So from group 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 1. This is 1 hour session. Usually it's 20 minutes in each 20 minutes each group. 1 hour session in the gym. Okay, guys, do you have any question about this?
Yeah, a couple of questions.
Okay.
Firstly, how do the preparations change during Ramadan? Because I think that's an interesting one.
Okay, we go here. One sec. You can see this, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing, Ramadan, they cannot eat or drink when there is sunlight. Okay, that means that first thing we only do 1 training session a day. The training session is quite late. When I mean late, is around 9-10 p.m. Why? Because usually they eat depending where we are, okay? Because everything depends on the sun, but depending where we are, they will eat at 6:30 p.m. a couple of hours for digestion. Then we train 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m. We finish around midnight, and they have shower. They will have a huge meal around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they go to sleep around 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. They go to sleep. They will not wake up until probably 2, 3, and we wait for sun like breakfast around 5, 6 for the session at 9, 10. This is Ramadan until the 10th of April this year, and then we have those 3 days, which is 8. 8 means after Ramadan they have like a big party with all the family. They get together and they have huge meals for 3 days. This is going to be very challenging. For me, it's the first time that we are going to do it, so I have no idea how it will be. One thing is the Asia Cup is in Thailand, okay? So we are trying to do this training camp outside Saudi Arabia. So basically we can have the players a bit more control. The players are not with the families, and also everything is personal, and we leave it, of course, to each individual. But if you are in international duty, technically you can skip the Ramadan days if you want, and then you can add the Ramadan days that you skip after. So because the players they are in international duties, if they want, they are allowed by their imam to skip Ramadan those days because they are representing their country in a competition. But of course, this is very personal, and we cannot decide or force any player to do it or not to do it.
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks. Second question. What does the recovery look like when you're playing back to back? I assume that means literally one day after the other. What does it look like? So if you were to finish your game in an evening, what might you do the next morning before the game that night, for example?
Okay, so usually when we play here, Brazil, Japan, Colombia, Brazil, Japan, it was 24 hours. Like between Brazil and Japan, it was 24 hours, but between Japan and Colombia, it was even less than 24. I think it was 20 hours. So we finish the game in Brazil. We do cool down, like foam rolling, stretching, and after that, in the changing room at the venue, we always have ice baths ready for the players. So as soon as they finish the game, they have ice baths. Then, of course, good rehydration and good nutrition. Then during the night, the physios and the masseurs, they work with the players if they need to. We have we have the masseurs, but at the same time we have like presotherapy, we have with Normatec, or we have like the game ready that like with ice compression. Then for the second game versus Japan, we do like a kind of a small and easy activation that you will see a video later in the hotel. We don't leave the hotel, in a room with some core stability, some stretching, some foam rolling, and usually some games like team dynamics, cohesion, this kind of games, like fun games. Okay. After the Japan game, exactly the same recovery. And then for Colombia, because it was less than 24 hours, not even any activation, like just make sure that they sleep, make sure that they wake up for to have some food before the game, and then straight into the game.
Yeah, thanks. That makes sense. I think the other challenge you have, and we touched on it earlier with individuals, is that some will have played 20 minutes, 25 minutes in the game. Some will have played 5 minutes. And I know from when I was, playing internationals, and it was like you'd feel very differently if you'd only played 5 minutes to as if you'd played 25 minutes. So the players that had only played 5 wanted to train, and the players that had played 25 didn't want to train, which is kind of understandable. And then it's, I suppose, the challenge for staff is, do you run a session for 3, 4, 5 players? Do you not? I suppose is that a fair consideration, Dan?
Yes, sometimes sometimes we do this kind of individualization. So the players that they have some minutes, they rest completely sometimes. And depending on the situation, sometimes we go to the court and those players, after the warm-up, they sit down and we run the session with the other players. Or sometimes if we decide to give a rest to the whole team, we take the players that play less to do a gym session in the hotel, usually, because usually we try to go to hotels that we have the gym over there.
Yeah. And I think linking it to psych as well, that we've touched on before, like when you're away from home for 10 days or whatever it is here, sometimes 7-10 days, like you're away from family, friends, you want to, like, if you haven't played for 5 minutes, you want to play because you want to do something. It's boring otherwise, just sat in a hotel. So I think that's the other, it's physical, but it's also linked to psych as well. And then you want to play because then you feel ready for the game, because if you want to if you're going to play that night and you haven't done anything for a couple of days. Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, next one. What is included in the gym workout group 3? So slide 29, go back to slide 29. What sort of exercises would you do from a strength perspective, I'm assuming, in group 3?
Do you see that?
Yeah.
That day, those exercises we did, squat downs, we did leg press, we did quads, we did hamstrings, a bit of upper body, biceps. That is what we did. Those exercises that you can see on the picture
Are literally the ones you did. Yeah.
Yes, those ones. That day it was those ones, and they did 3 sets, 8 repetitions each, and of course they put their own weight.
Yeah. Okay. Which is an easy way to individualize, isn't it? Because if people want to push themselves, they can. If they don't have to. Okay. How do you plan a week in terms of if you're in a club? So it says some might do 3 trainings and have a rest day. Some would do 5. I know from a football perspective, you might play Saturday. Some would have Sunday, Monday off, and then train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, play Saturday. Others might play Saturday, have Sunday off, but then train Monday, Tuesday, have Wednesday off, train Thursday, Friday, game Saturday. So from your experiences in club, how did you work a week?
Everything depends on the number of sessions that you have. But let's say that you have 3 sessions, yes, or 4 sessions a week plus the game. Because probably most of you are not working in a professional club that you can have full access. In my opinion, if your game is on Saturday, I will give Sunday off, and then I would practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, and then Thursday and Friday. So Monday, Tuesday training, Wednesday off, Thursday and Friday. On Friday, you can do the very easy session before the game to work on the set pieces, how to defend set pieces, a bit of activation, and maybe even some activation or speed workout. And then on Thursday and Tuesday, it would be the hard sessions.
Fab. Yeah, that makes sense. Look, it's 9 o'clock. For anybody who needs to drop off, please do so. Not a problem at all. We're going to keep going. We've got some practical examples here, and you've got the YouTube link. I'll repost it for anyone who came in slightly later in case it wasn't in the chat. Here's a link to YouTube, which takes you to one video, and then if you click on Dan's channel, you can find the others, because I'm guessing it'll be quite ropey working through here. But yeah, we're just going to look at a few practical examples. So please feel free to drop off if you need to. Otherwise, we will continue, Dan.
Okay, so you see I'm going to try to put the videos. I don't know if you see the videos or not.
Yeah, that's working.
Is it working?
It's just very, like, they're not really playing very fluidly, but hopefully if people want to see the videos, they can.
Okay, so the
find
first
them
video,
on YouTube.
The first video is just we were in Holland. I explained to Ian before. We were in a very good place that we had like a big forest next to the hotel, but next to the forest, the forest, we have like sand dunes. So before breakfast, like 3, 4, 5 days, that was pre-season. So we did like 2 kilo running, like low intensity endurance training. And then when we arrived to the dunes, we did some proprioception workout over there, because on the sand you can work on your balance. We did some landing on the sand, and then we did some like relay races, like sprinting at maximal speed on the sand to work specifically on strength, to work on some fun games and some competitiveness in the morning, but at the same time working on something that is going to give us a plus at the end of the preparation. And when we finish the sprints on the sand, we ran back to the hotel, which basically was 2 kilos one way, 2 kilos the other way. 8 o'clock in the morning before breakfast, then we have breakfast session and then session in the afternoon. So that day we did like 3 different training sessions. As Ian said, I know that the internet probably the videos, they are not working properly, but you will have access to all these videos. This video is the video running, okay? Then the next one is like a session where we work on the gym. Is basically a very similar session that the one that I showed you before. 3 groups. One group is running on the treadmill. The other group is doing like some injury prevention with core stability and elastic bands. And then the other group is working on strength. Depending on the dimensions of the gym. So for example, this gym was very, very small. So we have to do groups. Like if we have 20 players, so one group is of 10 players is coming at 11, and then the other group is coming at 12. That is what we did here in Amsterdam. And you can see like the players, they are doing some aerobic, some players they are doing some strength training, and some players are doing some injury prevention, focusing on core stability and all the pre-activation activities with elastic bands. Then we have here one session working on endurance and working on speed. So basically we did a training circuit on the court. The players, they were working in twos, so 2 players. we did 20 seconds workout, 20 seconds rest, 9 stations. Sorry, 9 stations. So we put on the court 9 stations, 9 different exercises, 2 players in each station, you can see. So doing squats, doing core stability, doing some jumping, doing some agility ladder with the hands, doing some accelerations with elastic bands, doing some plyometric jumps with landing one foot, landing the other foot, landing 2 feet. And we did 3 rounds of this circuit that you have on the video. So 9 stations, 20 seconds working, 20 seconds resting, and then they switch. 2 players in each station, 3 rounds. After that, we did a bit of warm up with the ball, some passing and some possession, and at the same time the goalkeepers, they warm up specifically, because after this strength workout on the court, we did some speed and acceleration. You will see now. Okay, so we did 2 teams, they are competing, and we did 6 sprints per player. Okay, that's the exercise. You have to do some chain of directions around the poles. There's one coach in the middle lifting a bib, 3 colors, purple, red, and blue. So one player from one corner, one player from the other corner. Is like a race. They have to go around the color that the coach is lifting, go back, and then sprint forward. Around the halfway line, there is a box. So the players, they have to sit down on the box. Why? Because they are working at maximal speed, but when they sit down, they have to break, they have to stop. And I wanted them to work on the hamstrings muscles a lot. So that is why I told them to break and sit down. The first players to sit down receive a ball, and the other players need to get to defend. So basically it's a 1v1 after a sprint, chain of directions, sprint forward, breaking to sit down and receive the ball, attack the ball, and 1v1. Okay, 6 times each player. You can modify this exercise if after finishing, instead of coming back to the line, they can stay there next to the goal. So there is a 2 versus 1. So it's the same exercise, but you can progress into a 2v1. Okay, the next one that we have is like an activation session that we did previous to the match. So we are in the hotel, we decide not to train in the morning, we have a room in the hotel, so we do foam rollers, okay, in the hotel, calves, hamstrings, quads, IT bands, groins, glutes, back. We do everything like full body with the foam rollers. After that, we do some mobility, some joint mobility, like raising legs, like opening your hips, rotation with your legs. After that, we do some proprioception and some balance, like touching the floor, keeping the balance on one leg only. Then we do all the workout that we do with elastic bands, different angles, in different positions, like side, like frontal, like with the elastic band in the ankle, but also then with the elastic band next to the knee. Then after that, we do some core stability. We have some core stability here. And then after the core stability, we usually is when we do the games. Games to have fun, and this is the game. So for example, all the players, they are in a circle, and we give them like some instructions, like right, left, up, down, inside, outside, and the players, they have to react to the instructions and to see who is making a mistake. And they have 3 push-ups or 5 push-ups. So basically it's like some team cohesion, some games, like to have fun, to clear their minds. Okay, clear this? I don't know how the videos they work.
Yeah, they were fine enough to get the idea, and people can watch them in their own time, but they played enough to get the idea.
Okay. As I mentioned before, all these videos, they are in the YouTube channel, and they are open, so you can feel free to watch them in a better quality than here. Sorry about that. So now that I show you some examples about what we do, just to really finish this, for me, the general conclusions that I want to tell you is like, I don't know if you see this. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Like good. So futsal is a high intensity intermittent sport. That is clear. 15 seconds working, 15 seconds resting, usually, but at 85-90% of your maximum intensity. Accelerations and short sprints, maximal, submaximal, and brief recovery periods. So we try to always use methods that we use futsal, and we use the core, the ball integrated into the training. That is why we put that, or I put that example that is okay. It's a 1v1. Previously, we work on sprints, but at the end, we want to finish with something related to the sport. And finally, that for us is very, very important that we want to educate players how to train, how to recover, and how to regenerate. So especially because where I'm working, and because the behaviors that the players, the culture that the players they have, their habits are not the best. So we are focusing a lot on this. Try to educate players about training, recover, regenerate, how to eat properly, how to sleep, how to stretch, how to warm up properly. Because at the end, what we want, or my job as a fitness coach, what I want is I want to have as many players as possible fully fit, so the players are ready for the coach. This is my job. I want the 100% of the squad ready to play, and then the coach decides. But if we have players with, problems with injuries, then our coach is limited. So my main job is I want to try to educate players. It's not like I want them, you do this. I want to explain, and I want to teach them, and I want them to understand why as a group of staff we work this way, and working this way they will get some benefits, and outside the national team hopefully they can keep doing the same in their clubs, because that is our main objective. Because at the end, working with the national team, we also want to improve the general futsal in the country. And the last one is you have here my contact. So any questions, and as I mentioned in this YouTube channel, you have all the videos that I showed you before. Any questions now, guys?
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Dan. There may be a couple that come in. I think one for me, just summarizing what you said about being in intermittent, high intensity, that idea of incorporating gameplay. I think for the people that are on this call that might only train once a week, twice a week, this isn't to say go off and start doing gym sessions and replace your futsal with gym. I think what Dan said there is the importance of linking the play, like gameplay, to physical. So even if it's something subtle, like when you do a 1v1 game, making them sprint somewhere and sprint back before they then play their 1v1, that would be a subtle way of incorporating physical returns without giving up the time that they're there to play the game. You know,
yes.
we need to work on the technical tactical. We're not here for professional. We're not here 5 times a week. So I think that was a really valid point you make, that how do you incorporate the physical?
Yeah, you are completely right. That the thing is, I'm working in a professional environment now, so we can have this kind of specific training. But if you are working in a club, you are working with kids, and you have 2 sessions, 3 sessions a week, my advice is try to do as much as possible with the ball. Everything, like forget about gym sessions, or forget about running or sprinting without the ball. Like everything with the ball. That is where you, and then yes, try to incorporate those specific fitness aspects, but with the ball.
Good. Someone was just asking about how important is it you get the ball in. I suppose the killer question, and someone mentioned it earlier about periodization in clubs. So when you're talking about doing that, you said we do a gym session, then we do a recovery session or a mobility or whatever. Do you periodize that? So, you know, when you had your planning, it was really good to see how you plan across the season and then break it down and down and down. You know, your letters E1, 2, 3, S, etc., etc. Would you plan that out so that you knew that you were covering S, whatever it was, 1, 2 in this period, and then S, 3, 4 here? Or do you just go off feel? How do you do that?
So, for example, this year when we went to Holland and then to Brazil, and then we have the qualifiers here, at the end, we started mid-August and we finished 10th, 11th October. So we had like almost 2 months working together. So in that period, yes, we try to plan everything and periodize everything. Like at the beginning, we were focusing more on aerobic endurance because we knew that the players that were coming from the summer resting, doing nothing. And then from there we were progressing to more intense workouts next to the competition in October. But in the 10 days training camp that we have next month in Macedonia, I'm not going to plan physically absolutely nothing, because the players, they are already coming from a tournament. So we travel on the 10th, but the players that we play the final in the Saudi games, they will play the final on the 9th. So the thing is, and we travel on the 10th. So on the 11th, probably what I'm going to do is a recovery session. And then maybe we play the first game on the 16th. So basically we only have 4 days or 5 days to train, and we think that we should spend those 7 or 8 sessions that we have on the court. Yes, we will do some fitness aspects, specifically preventive or proprioception exercises or on the court, but we are not going to be working. I will guarantee that we will not do any gym session those days, for example.
Yeah, okay. Cool. That's probably it from me. Anyone on the call, either to type or to speak out and ask any questions before we bring it to a close? No. Okay. Thanks ever so much for joining. Dan, thanks ever so much for your time and all the time you put in before to put that together. Dan is amazing in terms of his openness. So please, when he says we get in touch, he genuinely means it and he will give up his time. So if there is any further documentation you want around periodization or around something that sparked your curiosity, honestly, message him because he is a top guy and he will get back to you. Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate it. Everybody else, I'll see you in December on the 2nd, I think it is. And hopefully now you've got some content to have a go at working out how you develop players physically over that 12 weeks, which was the task, and how you blend that into your technical and tactical work. That's the key. This isn't about putting on a solely physical. It's the idea is that it's integrated in. And as you guys have asked some brilliant questions, it's relevant for your individual players, where they're at physically, psychologically, technically, etc. So thanks, Dan. Is it nothing else?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. For me, it was a pleasure. So thank you. And thank you guys for attending.
Speak soon. Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
First couple of minutes, I just want to stop recording.